Welcome to the live stream of consciousness. The live stream of consciousness is on a quest to unravel the mysteries of existence. Every episode, we ask the fundamental question, what is consciousness? Is consciousness merely a product of our brains, or does it connect us to something greater? Explore the very fabric of our thoughts. Don't miss a moment. Expand your awareness and tap into the boundless potential that resides within you. Welcome to the live stream of consciousness.
Yes, welcome to the live stream of consciousness. Did any of you guys get worried? Usually I'm realizing about now that I've been babbling for 4 minutes and I introduced my guest, but I'm about 4 minutes late. I'm sorry. I was checking my internet speeds right at about 8:30 and they were pretty low, and I was like, wait a second. And so I called Optimum, and I'm not called them, I was on chat with them, and he's resetting my modem over and over and over, and like right at 9 o'clock he reset my modem. So I hope the speeds are all right. I see a bunch of people out there. Hello. My name is Michael Zinn. For those of you who don't know, this is the live stream of consciousness. This is my happy place where I get to do some fun things, have some amazing conversations, and tonight is a pretty exclusive event. I'm excited to actually have Metatron on my show, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, you will find out very shortly. So I said hello to Hat Powser and Helen Wagner and the Quiet Healer and Ninja Kitty. What's up, everybody? It's great to see you guys out there. It is Thursday, July 25th. It's still July. We sped right into the summer, and I was like, wait a second, we got to slow down again. And I was able to slow down July, right? July 4th seems like it was so long ago. So I feel like I slowed down the last couple of weeks because it started speeding up on me. I wasn't paying attention. But I'm super excited for tonight because Metatron is a super special guest. Like, I'm just so amazed and honored that Metatron agreed to do this. And of course, Metatron is channeled through my good friend Wendy Gayle, who I'm going to introduce to the show right now. Welcome to the live stream, Wendy.
Hi, how are you doing, Michael?
I'm doing good. I'm so happy to see you again.
I'm happy to see you too. It's been a little while, and
yeah, a couple of months. I was telling my audience about my sessions with Metatron and how much I was enjoying them. And I'm so glad that when we kind of finished up our sessions that we talked about doing some live Metatron live with you, and everybody's saying welcome, Ninja Kitty and the Quiet Healer, and welcome back, Wendy. But before we start with Metatron, I want to ask you some questions. Not the usual, what is consciousness? We've been through that. Even though that changes all the time, right? You never step in the same river twice. But I want to talk specifically about Metatron for people who may not know who Metatron is, or what Metatron is, or what channeling is. Can you explain who Metatron is and his role in the celestial hierarchy?
All right. I'll share all that I know with you guys. Happy to do that. So there are so many understandings of what is Metatron. And for many people, Metatron is an archangel, and they approach him like he is part of the angelic realm. And that's beautiful. He tells me a little bit different story, that he is actually the sacred geometry in all things, that when he was created, Source created Metatron before creating form. And so everything was created through Metatron. He's not the creator, but he's the sacred geometry in all things.
Awesome. Oh wow, I've never heard that. Yeah, I don't think we ever talked about that.
And so that's the story he tells me. He tells me that he has not had an earth life, because many people think that Enoch and Metatron were the same, and I can't speak to that. I can only tell you what he told me. So yeah, those are the things that he and I talk about in the middle of the night when I can't sleep.
No, that's awesome. I love that explanation of Metatron being the sacred geometry through which the divine is funneled into material, into the 3D.
Yeah.
That's a great explanation. I love that. That's awesome. So you're a channel, and how does Metatron work with humanity? Explain that aspect of what you do and how you bring Metatron to the earthly realm.
Sure. So I'm what's called a full body unconscious trance channel. And there's many Metatron channels on the earth, and we each relate to him and interface with him in our own unique ways.
Yeah.
I think that he brings different information through different channels. Lots of channels are getting that really deep sacred geometry information and very technical, detailed information. I get information that's kind of global, but also very personal for people. And he really steps up to help people on their path, help people find the way to move forward and find what it is that they're here to do. So
That's awesome. That's
yeah.
awesome. Totally. Yeah, I love it. And I can say from experience, Metatron is very personable, or however you say that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I see Lead with Energies out there. Hello, Lead with Energy. What's happening, Raven? Awesome. I have a bunch of questions for Metatron also, but maybe before we even get there, is there anything you want to tell us or share about how you started the channel, what it involves, and like just anything that can kind of make it easier for people who haven't experienced it to experience it?
Sure. I believe that we're all channels. I believe that we were created that way, and we've had this discussion before. And so channeling is, for me, an exercise in remembering who and what we are, remembering that we can have that divine connection. I didn't know that 34 years ago when I started on the journey. And so a lot of this journey, I've been looking outside of myself in connecting with guidance. And it's become really clear over the last couple of years that it's really an inside job, that it's all inside of us. We have aspects of each and every one of those galactic beings, ascended masters, archangels, whatever. There's a thread of that within inside of us. And when we can connect with what's inside of us, then we're able to really make that solid relationship with source, with guidance.
I love that. I love that. And I love what you said earlier about there are many channels and each kind of expresses their own relationship with Metatron and expresses it their own way. You know what I mean? And again, for people who haven't experienced, you'll see when Metatron comes through exactly what we're talking about. And Helen has a good question. I think we've talked about it as well. And Helen, it's Metatron is the name, but does Metatron find human vocabulary limiting?
Yes, I believe he does. Yes, because sometimes I feel him constantly connected to my left shoulder, and I'm constantly talking and we're communicating, and I'm always looking up because he's very tall and it's a really human thing to do, right? And when we're missing each other vocabulary wise, I get this energetic eye roll. So yes, our language, our words, very limiting quite often. So,
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think the good thing about Metatron and the way that Metatron comes through a channel is the energetic presence. I think that there is, whatever the message is, there's a part of that message that gets conveyed energetically. It's not necessarily through language, and again, just through my experience, that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, he says that only a portion of the exchange comes through the conversation, but there's so many other layers of things going on that people are maybe not even aware of. But many people, when I channel this evening, you'll be able to feel Metatron in your space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I can't wait. It's awesome. Yeah, I love also how you said that we're all channels, and it may not be channels of Metatron or channels of a being, but I always related this when I found out what channeling was and kind of understood the idea of connecting to source. I realized, like, you know, when I was in my 20s playing in a band, which I just started doing again, like playing in a band and playing music is channeling. It's a form of, and I love that you said remembering, because it does kind of feel like that. It's just connecting with the energy, you know, it's just connecting with the source energy of music in that particular instance, you know, and just being able to become it. And when you're playing with a band, I feel like that's the moment, you know, for me, that's a great moment, because it's like a dance, it's like a conversation, you know, it's like everything's flowing together, you know, and it feels so good. And Raven says artists are channels. Yes, absolutely. I think any form of creation is channeling, and I think that's really a good way to look at somebody who is channeling, is that it's a creation, it's a moment of this creation, of this connection. You know what I mean? And again, I can't wait for people who haven't seen it to see it, and I can't wait for people who, even, I know some of my audience has experienced channeling, and how awesome it is. So they'll be excited as well. And oh, look, Deb is here. Deb on hair. Deb does my hair. Everybody, by the way, look at my beautiful haircut. That is Deb on hair. Good to see you here, babe. And everybody, I'm excited for this. Is there so okay? I do want to give you. I love talking to you, so I do want to give you a little space too before I bring on Metatron. So what does it feel like? Does it tickle?
No. Sometimes it's very, very hot. Sometimes I get very, very hot. There's oftentimes I'm aware of a vibrational frequency in my body, but things shift really rapidly because I'm working on shifting my brainwave frequencies and stepping into trance. And so after I've done that, I'm not really participating in the conversation. When we're complete, I won't really know what's been spoken about. I might have an understanding of the flavor of it. So no, it doesn't tickle. And people often ask me, am I tired when I'm done channeling? And usually not. Usually not. I'm usually sitting in the chair working with 4 or 5 people every day. And so it's like, you know, building your chops. I've built the muscle.
Right. Totally.
And I love
And
it.
you know, I didn't even think about it, but it is interesting, and it relates to what you said, is that everybody who channels, even if it's not Metatron, experiences it differently. And I know people who are tired afterwards. I know people who are very giddy afterwards. They're very, you know, they're like laughing a lot, and you know, just kind of, I don't know. You know, everybody kind of has their own response. You know, some people are drained by it, but and then again, I feel like, I guess most people I know are elevated in some way. You know, and even the laughing or whatever it might be. That's awesome. And Deb on Hair says, I really do enjoy these live conversations. Thank you. Me too. I love doing this. Awesome. Is there anything you want to tell people who haven't experienced this, what to expect before, as you prepare? Do we want to prepare and bring Metatron in? Or?
Yeah. I'm always blown away when I watch any recordings of how he uses my body and my face and my mouth so differently than I do. So you're going to see some funny faces. His voice is a little bit different than mine. He has a bit of a funny accent, so please don't let that slow you down or scare you off. He is very approachable and welcomes connection and is always intent. His intention is always to hold sacred space, to hold safe space for everybody. So if anyone needs anything during the session, let Michael know, and he'll, because Metatron doesn't read the chat.
That's right. So yeah, and Metatron has agreed. We could take some questions. I have a few questions. I'm going to talk to Metatron for a little bit, and get everybody associated with just talking, and then we'll take some from the audience. And let me first switch spaces with you here, and then
Right.
I want to give you the center stage.
All right. It'll take just a moment. All right. Good day to you.
Hello. How are you doing?
We are always well, Michael. There's no other way for us to be.
I love it. I love it. I'm so excited, and thank you so much for coming on to my show and doing
Indeed.
it in a different way than we have. It's amazing. And I was actually when Wendy said, "Okay, it'll take a moment," I was like intensely waiting, and I forgot to take some deep breaths. And so I'm just waiting and waiting and waiting, and then I took some deep breaths, and then all of a sudden you popped in. So I realized it was myself that needed to also prepare and
Right.
let you in. So
Right. Yeah. And there's some deep truth to that, because we exist inside of each and every one of you. So you help anchor the energy by your breathing, by your intentions.
Absolutely, yeah. No, that's what made me remember. I'm like, oh, usually when I speak to Metatron, I kind of meditate beforehand, with Wendy, and we kind of rejoin. So again, I'm excited to see you. It's been a while, and I just want to kind of get my audience familiar with talking to you and just ask you some basic questions, and kind of like kind of what is the most important message you have at this moment?
Wow. Just one.
Yeah. Just one. It's a basic question.
All right. So we believe that the most important thing at this time is to know who and what you are, because that is going to become very important in the days to come. To understand yourself, to know your boundaries, to know your depths, to understand yourself perhaps as something a little bit more than human sometimes, right? You're going to be pushed to the limits of perception. And so you're going to be discovering new aspects of the self. And so knowing who and what you are today is important. It is the baseline, right, for your evolution. So we feel that is quite important.
Totally. Oh my God, totally. I'm so excited as you're saying it, because I'm like, oh my God, what a perfect answer. Like really, like without it's just so perfect. Thank you so much. That was just I
Well,
feel it. I feel it. Like when Wendy told me, she said you'll feel it, and I already knew that, because we've been dealing with each other for a while.
indeed, we're old friends,
Yeah, yeah. And I guess, what is there any suggestions you have for not just me, but like humanity in general to do that, to get to know themselves? Like, what would be a good daily practice for someone to do?
Well, wow. We could, go on for days about daily practices, but we believe that one of the most important things is to give yourself a little space.
Mhm.
Everyone has so much upon their plate that there's no spaciousness in your lives.
Mhm.
And to know yourself, it takes a little quiet time. It takes a little space. For some, it takes a little nature. For others, it takes a little music, whatever it is.
Mhm.
But taking the space and then making the commitment, right? Asking source, asking guidance to assist you,
Mhm.
to helping you to know who and what you are. And we're being very specific in the language on this when we say who and what, right?
Mhm.
Because many of you are here from other dimensions and other galaxies. Uh, you have traveled through time and space to be present here and now. And so discovering that aspect of the self is empowering. Yeah.
Mhm.
And and it will change the trajectory of your life.
Wow. Wow, you just made me, you just like, I felt this seed plant in my brain and then just like open up. And that is that, originally you said, like, okay, the most important thing is for us to be ourselves and find out who we are,
Mhm.
which that was perfect. That's exactly what I think everybody needs to do, and everybody is so overwhelmed with other things that we forget to do that. But I think for some people that's just the basic thing they need to do, but then for other people, like you just said, like finding out about their celestial aspects of themselves, other aspects, higher aspects, or celestial aspects, or
Mhm.
whatever, however it is they feel it expresses itself to
Yeah,
them, right?
absolutely, absolutely. And the the journey of this becomes a love affair with the self,
Hmm.
right? The love affair with the self. That is one of the things that we notice upon this planet is people don't love themselves enough.
Hmm.
How can you love another if you do not love yourself?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
We would say that this is one of the greatest barriers at this time to harmony upon this planet. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And that's not just talking about a romantic love. That's talking about just loving others in general, I think, because I feel like for myself, like that was definitely a changing moment in my existence, right? To be able to look into the mirror and honestly answer that I love myself, right?
Yes.
Because before that moment, it was an honest answer. um,
Yes.
and it took work to get to this place, and I don't even really, I say it took work, but I don't know what it was, right? Because it just, for me, it just like happened, and I know it didn't just happen, right? It built up to that moment, but I didn't feel anything specific. And I'm so happy that we're talking about this, and I'm so happy that a few people are saying this, because Helen is saying she still doesn't know who for sure who she is or where she came from, and Carolyn is saying, how can you love yourself? I think those are both related.
Yeah.
To find out the answer for Helen, I think it's related. So what would
Yeah.
you say to that question?
Well, we are teaching a class, part of a year-long program, and we have been uh, having individuals take pictures of different parts of their body and spend a week loving it, looking at it, getting through any hesitation for loving that part of the body. It has been quite an amazing journey for people to begin to discover that self-love. For anyone who really wants to begin to love themselves, you can start with the body, right? And then you'll take the deeper journey. But for people who are looking for their path, the important thing to know is that you're right where you're supposed to be in this moment, no matter what it looks like. Right?
I always say that.
And spirit absolutely has a plan for you, beloved one, who asked the question. And we would say that you have a deep connection to Melchizedek, and so look to the stars for your lineage and allow yourself to suspend disbelief. That's a big deal, right? Because we have so many perceptions and belief systems in place upon this planet that sometimes you have to push beyond what you know to discover the truth. Right? The truth of who you are, the truth of anything. And so, that is what we encourage.
Great. That's a beautiful answer. That's why I love talking to you so much. Just the wisdom and not only that, but like when you say it, it's just like, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that. It's like you said, it's like it's a remembrance. It's like, oh, that makes so much sense, and it's because you can remember it. So I have a question for you. I'm sure more people are going to ask some questions, and feel free, everybody. By the way, share this out right now, because this is, for me, this is important, right? You've come here, whoever you are, who've been here, and Helen is saying thank you, Metatron. Whoever you are, you've come here because you have an open mind and you're here to experience this. And I think this is why I do this. I think it's important for people to let go, just like Metatron just said, and just believe that there's more to it than what we've been shown, and those things are easy because they're just there for the asking. They're part of who we are. And that's why I love talking to Metatron so much, because she reminds me of that. I just, speaking to Metatron, it's like I'm reminded of, oh yeah, I know that. I know that. You know what I mean? And I think that's important for people to see. So share this out, and again, feel free to ask a question. But my question is, I believe that we're all interconnected. I believe that consciousness is the one, and we're all aspects of that consciousness, including yourself. Can you explain why it's important for humans to understand that, or maybe how humans can start to understand that? People who don't understand that, it's an abstract concept, I think, for some people.
It is a difficult concept for some people because believing past what you can see is often difficult. But if you were able to take a look at a bird's eye view of humanity and the universe and the galaxies, right? They create a pattern. There's a pattern, and there are threads like a web between each and every universe, each and every person. You are part of cosmic spider web, so to speak. Right? And so there is connection with all things. And humans on a whole don't always understand their connection with all things because they often do not pay attention. They're often not mindful of the things that are happening in the etheric realm around them. right?
Mhm.
And so each and every one has psychic senses that are picking up more information than you're really allowing yourself to process.
Mhm. Mhm.
And as soon as you become mindful and tap into all of those senses, then you begin to feel where and how you're connected, being part of a whole. No separation,
Mhm.
unisonness, right?
Mhm.
It is possible for this planet to evolve. It is possible to have heaven on earth. It is just going to take mindfulness and shifting several perception.
Mhm. And thankfully I feel like that's what's happening. That's why, like, amongst the fear of the world that's going on around me, I feel like I'm just kind of on a tube, floating on the ocean, like just above, and the ocean is all the adversity that's going on beneath me, and I'm separate from it because I'm not subscribed to that. I'm excited about this shift in perception that we're going through. And Lead with Energy, Raven, is a tarot reader and says, Metatron has always helped me spread light around the world. Raven takes tarot cards and leaves them around. So she's left cards probably with Metatron, and
Really?
people who need to receive your messages at that moment find them, and it's just an amazing practice, and it's like there's a very cool art to it. It's so energetic. It's really, really cool. And Quiet Healer is giving us 3 purple hearts. Thank you, Quiet Healer. Um, so yeah, I mean, I have other questions that I think are important. Can you provide some guidance on how someone might heal from past traumas to begin a spiritual journey, to start to understand, and maybe like that would trigger, something like healing from a past trauma, something kind of basic like that.
Right. So there are millions of healing modalities available. And so healing from past traumas often take uh, receiving help from another. And so if you are deep in your traumas and struggling, we will ask you to reach out and receive assistance from another, uh, a healer, a channel, whomever you are drawn to, right? But one of the greatest things that you can do for yourself is to tell yourself the truth. It is very difficult in traumatic experiences. You don't always remember the whole experience, or you block things out. And so, if you can take an experience or take just a snapshot of something and move through it frame by frame, looking at it from an observer's perspective instead of being embroiled in the trauma, then you have the option to look at this frame and tell yourself the truth. And sometimes, just by doing that, you will begin to change the narrative of the trauma,
Mhm, mhm.
right? Sometimes,
Absolutely.
sometimes you'll see that you have taken too much ownership of your trauma. And sometimes you'll see that you haven't taken enough ownership of the trauma to be able to heal it. And so this is one of the things that you can do. And there are always beautiful souls that will help you through your traumas.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, that's the great thing. I think that's as a result of this perception shift, right? I think a lot of people are coming into these awarenesses that we are a collective, and how important it is to help people heal their traumas, for the collective, not just for them, but because healing an individual's trauma heals the collective trauma.
It does.
And that's really important. And one of my listeners, Ken's, has an important question. She says, I don't know if this is a silly question, and we know there are no silly questions. Is the consciousness of our dreams an alternate dimension? Is that why they can feel so tangible? And how can you send energy to others? I guess those are kind of two separate but related questions.
Okay, we'll start out with the consciousness in the dreams, and we're going to tell you that that's the reality. What you normally live on a daily basis is kind of an illusion. And so when you get to sleep and you get to dream and you're moving through time and space and dimensions, that's what's real. Okay? And that is why so many individuals now are beginning to become acquainted with plant medicine and journeying as a way to begin to bring the dream world into everyday life, right? And that's kind of what you're doing in your evolutionary process, is you're kind of switching things around. Okay, does that make a little sense to you?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me.
All right. And the other question was, please repeat it.
Is that why they can feel so tangible sometimes? Was the second half of that question, your dreams feeling tangible? And I would say yes, of course, because that is reality. You know, this is more of the dream. And the second part of the question was, and how can you send energy to others?
Well, you can send energy with intention. Each of you is a healer as well as a channel. And so you can imagine that you reach up and draw source energy, bring it into your heart, maybe say a blessing and imagine that you send it to another. It seems like imagination or imagining, but the truth of the matter is that your imagination is one of your greatest allies, one of your greatest tools. And when you're sending healing, when you're sending energy to someone with the intention of, their highest good, something always happens, right? Something always happens. And so that is just a very simple process, really. Very simple.
I love it. I love it. And I love that you're saying that so much, because I didn't speak to you about it, but I did speak to Wendy about it. That I had an experience that and I don't know if I spoke about it on my show yet, but I had an experience that I would call a download. And I don't usually I'm always kind of jealous when people say, "Oh, I had a download." I'm like, whatever. But I'm kind of jealous and like, "Oh, I wish I would have one." And I had an experience that I felt was a download, and in that experience, I was told that everything is imagination. Imagination is where reality exists, and that was part of how Wendy communicates with you, and how children have these imaginary friends, and it's always put as, oh, it's in your imagination, but it's not. That's not an insult. That's a great connection to have.
Indeed.
Yeah,
that's a why thank you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ken says, this is also amazing. Thank you. Ken says, thank you. And that leads to another really, really good question. And that is Helen saying, but what about nightmares? Tell us how that all fits into
Okay.
it.
All right.
It's a great question.
So that is a very great question. And when we are teaching people to travel to different dimensions and mediumship and channeling, we always remind you that there are lower vibrational frequencies that will take an opportunity sometimes to slip in to your dreams, or they're in your space in your home, and that lower vibrational frequency impacts your dreams. But as they slip into your dreams, they cause the nightmares. And so be very aware of that when it happens. Clear your space, sage, Make sure that you have your bed positioned properly in your bedroom so that you are not crossing any ley lines, things like that, if you continue to have nightmares. But it really is a good idea as well, particularly these days, to create a little protection for yourself. Set an intention, ask guides to come and be protective of you while you are sleeping, right?
I love what you're saying. Yeah, I love what you're saying, and I feel like as you were talking about sage and that's exactly what I was thinking. Like when I do sage, it's like, okay, well, what does lighting, a plant, that's dried do? But it's not just the lighting of the plant; it's the intention part of it as well. That you're putting your thoughts into what you're doing. So in that whole energy of the smoke that's coming out and the scent that's in the air and everything, your intention is helping use that as kind of like the source material to travel through. And I love that. I think that was great how you connected that with intention. It's really important. So Helen, I think also, what Metatron said about positioning your bed with ley lines, that's all, it seems like a physical thing, but it's really also, there's a whole part of believing that and saying, okay, I'm going to intentionally do this because there's something that's going to happen. I love that. I love that answer. And I guess so. That's us as individuals kind of trying to deal with energy and lower frequencies and things like that. What about collectively? Collectively, is there anything we can do to create a more harmonious world?
Yeah, we would love to sage the whole planet, right? There's that. Hmm. There, how do we present this without getting into conspiracy theories? Because we choose not to go there today.
Hmm.
But there are many factors that are creating disharmony and separation upon this planet.
Okay.
And so the way to circumvent that, again, starts with the self,
Hmm.
starts with becoming balanced, becoming grounded, becoming wise, right? Not believing everything that you hear and you see, but really taking time to uh, go deep within your own knowing, your heart, your feelings about what's the truth for you and what is the greater truth as well. All
Hmm.
of these things will begin to kind of break the lower vibrational frequency that seems to be blanketing everyone on the planet at this time.
Hmm.
Keeping clear, keeping clean, letting go of sugar, letting go of wheat, things like that. Two simple things to elevate your vibrational frequency. Manage your energy,
Hmm.
right? Manage your energy. Neutrality is your preferred way of being, as your spirit,
Hmm.
but you know many people are at the effect of everything and everyone around them, and
Right.
being able to be sovereign, to hold yourself in a way where you can respond as opposed to react,
Hmm.
and then be kind, be compassionate. This world needs more
Yeah.
of that.
Yes. 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 Totally. Those are great words. And so I was kind of stuck for a moment thinking about what you were saying about sugar and wheat. And then I guess like wondering so there's obviously as three-dimensional beings, right? So we haven't even talked about us as energetic beings, but there is a three-dimensional aspect to of us as humans, right? Humanity has a three-dimensional aspect, and there is a connection between our physiology and our spirit, right? There's everybody's heard of that mind body spirit balance.
Yes.
So if you don't pay attention to, and I know me personally, I do have to pay attention to more exercise, probably less sugar. I'm not unhealthy obese, but in America especially, there's an epidemic of obesity and unhealthy people, right? Because of just habits that have just been kind of, you're talking about not going into conspiracy theory, so I don't want to go that way,
Right.
Metatron. But however, when you said that too, I you've already like explained it kind of about vibration, right? So those things that are attached to different forces that are around us right now that are influencing all of the events are part of that source, right? They're part of the whole spectrum of vibration, but they're a certain vibration. And would you say, so that brought me to an interesting question, would you say that lower vibration of events in our world, right, like politics and the things that we see and are getting involved with and hold so tightly to, are masked higher vibrations of maybe I want to use the word alien, even though that can be interpreted a lot of ways, higher energies that have that influence, are having that influence of her, but being masked by that lower frequency? Does that make sense, that question?
It does. So we should do a whole evening on conspiracy theory, really.
Awesome.
We'll
do it. We'll come back. We'll do it. Awesome.
There are, let's just, for the lack of a better understanding, call them protocols in place to keep humanity at a lower vibrational frequency. Some of those protocols are coming from other humans upon the planet, and other protocols are coming from what you would call galactic beings or off-planet beings as well. And it really is all about keeping humanity asleep, because when you're asleep, you're much easier to control, right? You're much easier to manipulate. So when you begin to know who and what you are and learn how to manage your energy and you're mindful of everything, there's no controlling you.
Yeah.
Right?
You just gave me the chills, because I feel like you're the one who suggested it. Let's do a show on that. And honestly, to me, like in our experiences together, I never even, I mean, I guess we have brushed on the ideas of conspiracy theories. We've talked about it between ourselves, but the idea of Metatron addressing the public with these topics really made me excited, and I felt like, oh, that's so important. That's really important that everyone understand that spirituality isn't all about everything's got to be good. Anything that's not good, I'm just going to ignore, or I'm going to move away from it because it's not, I don't need it in my life. Unfortunately, I think we do need it in our life. We need to, that's why we're humans, folks. We're here to experience all of these things. Love, absolutely, but pain and grief and certain things, we're supposed to be experiencing those things to bring us to a higher level of experiencing love, right? The older we get, the more we're able to experience love and understand things, because we've been through those experiences like grief and betrayal and
Right.
trauma.
And would it surprise you that those experiences are meant to bring you to your knees?
Would it surprise me? No. It might surprise some of my audience.
And the reason being is because when it brings you to your knees, you're able to surrender. You are able to release even momentarily the hold that the ego has on your life and your processes.
Wow. Yeah, that makes so much sense.
And so many times it takes the trauma, many times it takes the grief to bring you to your knees. And as you get up, you take a different life, you take a different path.
Yeah, totally. Totally. And it's important, I think, what you're saying too, in the regards to ego, right? And what ego is, because there was a point in my life where I was like, I did it. I got rid of ego. And I thought that I did, but I realized, like, my show is Michael Zinn's live stream of consciousness, because there's an important aspect of ego, and that is I am Michael Zinn. I am the only person that can be Michael Zinn. Nobody else can be me, but I can't be anybody else. Right. So there's an important aspect of ego, but I think understanding the aspects of ego that limit us, right, to holding so tightly to, wait a second, I'm this and I'm that, that's not an important part of ego. I think that's part of what you're talking about, new perceptions and letting go. Yeah,
And
totally.
And ego mastery is something that we teach. And what we mean by ego mastery is not, defying the ego or trying to get rid of it, but to bring balance, to make your ego an ally as opposed to an opponent that's trying to go in a different direction than your soul, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Metatron, I can't even believe that I've got to do this and say, I've got to cut us off, but you suggested let's do a show on conspiracy theory. So folks, I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. It's amazing, and we will have Metatron back. But I do want to give Wendy an opportunity to talk to my audience about the classes that you're talking about and what you teach with Wendy. And I mean, unless you want to do it, I think probably Wendy should do it. So and then
let's bring back our woman and let her have a bit of a
awesome.
chat. Thank you so much for
inviting me. Thank you so much. Amazing.
Until next time, my friend. Namaste.
Yes.
Excuse me just a moment. A sip of coconut water helps me get back in my body.
Oh God, Wendy, that was so amazing. You don't even know. Well, you do and you don't.
Did you have a good time?
An amazing time. I had an amazing time, and we even spoke a little bit about doing it again. So I hope I'll let you rest a little bit before we plan the next one, but maybe next month we'll do another one.
Yeah.
And Metatron wants to talk about conspiracy theory and kind of, what people can do to help process conspiracy theory, maybe a little bit more spiritually, more spiritual way to process it.
It brings up fear. So
yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a great topic to talk about. And again, what this show is about, having conversations. Let me give us both there. But it's about having some great conversations, and again, I thank you and Metatron for this opportunity and future opportunities. I'm excited to be doing this again.
Yeah.
But I did put your information down below. Metatron referenced some things that you teach to help people kind of cope with just anything that they might be dealing with. You want to talk about that for a minute before we sign off?
Sure. I'm going to be teaching a brand new channeling class starting in September, which I'm really excited about. He's kind of revamped the way that we're teaching, and it's much deeper. I'm really excited. And he's also beginning to work with the walk-ins on the planet. And so we're kind of putting out the clarion call. We're going to start to create a circle for the support of walk-ins. That will be probably towards the end of September, first part of October.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And,
And,
and, and you know what? Just for some people, I mean, I know probably most of my audience knows what walk-ins is, but for some people who don't, because I think that is part of the perception shift, right? People are having these experiences that are walk-ins. Can you explain what that is real quick?
a walk-in experience is, you're born with one soul, and there's a contractual agreement, a soul contract, that at some point in time the soul that you were born with steps out and a new soul steps in. That's the easiest way to explain it. There's
Wow.
lots of variations on that experience,
Mhm,
but
mhm.
that's a full walk-in experience.
Right.
Is when the
Without
second
the
soul
human part doesn't die, but the soul gets changed, and the actual person is not the
yes,
same person,
yeah,
really.
yeah,
Yeah,
that
that's interesting. And I have heard stories about people who don't even remember their
right,
previous person. And then I've heard stories about people who do. They have, I guess that's part of the agreement, is they can carry on the life of the other person by
right,
having the memories or whatever that experience might be.
yes, yes,
That's
yes,
so cool.
yes. So
That's cool. Uh, Helen saying Metatron is Michael Santa. I do feel like Metatron gives me many gifts every time I talk to Metatron. I think too. Yeah, I think so. And we've got Brian Akers on, who says, "I'm so glad I got to see this. Penny Akers has told me about Wendy, and I
hi,
know
Brian,
I
nice to
know
meet
Penny
you.
too. Yeah, Penny was in that Akashic Records class that we did.
Oh yeah,
That's awesome. And that was so awesome. That's, I think, where we kind of started interfacing a little bit. I think we were probably in the same periphery before that time, but then we got to know each other. And Wendy,
yeah.
I love working with you and talking to you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
Michael.
you so much for doing this. Let me put you in the back so I can say
All right,
goodnight to everybody, and then
thank you,
don't go
everybody.
anywhere so I could say goodnight to you separately.
Okay,
But there's Wendy's information at the bottom. There's much more than just Metatron. Wendy has so much more to offer. She's just an amazing healer and soul. So thank you, and
thank you.
I'll talk to you in a bit. Oh man, I can't believe that I forgot to start breathing, and then when I started to breathe and I felt that connection, right, to myself, just from breathing. Then Metatron came in. I was like, oh my God, this really works. Not that I had a question. I never had a question, but it's just so amazing to me all the time to experience Metatron and the wisdom that comes. I feel my brain expand. Like I said, I felt those seeds kind of go in my brain and then just like expand. All of a sudden, these thoughts started happening. And that's what happens with Metatron. Ninja Kitty, another amazing show. Thank you. That for me, that was amazing. I'm super happy when I do get to talk to Metatron. I do have a lot of cool stuff going on. I'm excited. I started like booking more guests because I felt so guilty saying I don't have a guest next week necessarily, but someone will be here. I do have some guests, so let's see who I've got coming up. Next week, I have Kelly Rhymes, who has her own podcast. She's pretty awesome advocate for bald women. Interesting, right? You'll see. The week after that, I have Carolina Luna. I have John Marine coming up. I have on the 29th, I'm going to see Incubus, so I won't be doing a show, but I'll tell you the week before that. But it's an exciting summer coming up. I'm super excited. I'm so glad you decided to spend the last hour with me. Thank you guys so much for being here. My name is Michael Zinn. I'm just like you, a regular person, but I love these conversations. I love opening my mind and my energy to receive these amazing energies like Metatron, and then to be able to expose that to you. I love it. Thanks for being here. Peace. I'll see you next week.